Welcome, everybody, to 3 Points of Light. Today is November 20th, 2016, and guess what? I am now officially 55 years old. That means I've only got 5 more years until I can officially retire, up here in Canada anyway. We have a very busy chat room so far this evening. We have Brian, who has no choice but to be here, and Jennifer, who also has no choice but to be here. And poor Leo has just decided to hang with us because he's glutton for punishment. Hey, everybody.
Good day, all.
Hello. And 55 is a good number.
I know. Say hi, Leo.
Hello.
Leo's
Good on you,
shy.
mate.
Leo, don't be shy. There's only 4 of us for right now. If people get, crazy in here, well, then you can hush. But right now, no need to hush. Put your hand up if you want to talk. So this way, because 3 of us seem to not shut up with the talking. Oh. Well, it looks like we're either our guest Mary couldn't make it or she's going to be late. We're not sure. So until such time as we get a total confirmation that she's here or not here, this is going to be now. How did we put that in Facebook, Jennifer?
Oh, did we say divine timing? Let me get this right.
Yeah, yes, because we cannot make mistakes. Well, we can, but no fun. Okay, divine timing, coincidences, and yep, the other one was crazy. That shit just happened.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Let's don't go into that whole conversation. Yes, okay. It was crazy. I happened to be thinking about something, and something just popped in my face on, from Facebook, and I was like, oh, wow, look at that. And then you had, said
okay, something people have been complaining about on Facebook, which I do have noticed, and I understand. There's a lot of advertisements in Facebook. Anybody wants to eliminate or restrict the advertisements, go to facebookpurity.com and you add it to your taskbar of your what do you call it there? For me, it's Google Chrome.
Well, I just got a message.
It will take stuff away. It will erase it, eliminate it, and if you want certain things not to show up on your Facebook, like if you want to eliminate Mama D, you can just put Mama D in a box and you'll never see another thing about Mama D. Mind you, I'll still be on your friends list.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Okay.
What's up?
What?
Look, Mr. D.
To call in? Sorry.
That's okay.
You can hit on record if you want. We were worried if you want to.
And welcome back for that quick station break. We have our guest with us, Mary. Hi. Thank you for hanging in there and waiting for the silliness to be fixed by the one and only and the amazing Dorothy Holder.
Yay, Dorothy. Happy to join you. It's okay if it took what it took. I'm here.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's that linear time stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, things have been really crazy lately. So if you want to start out and you want to tell everybody about yourself.
That's kind of broad. Can I narrow that down a little bit?
Well, I know you're very multi-talented. I met Mary through Robert Sharp's show years ago, and Mary had helped me out extremely, and my gifts started opening up. And it just so happened I happened to be thinking about Mary and something that she had said to me, and thank goodness she told me ahead of time. And lo and behold, I got on Facebook, and that day she was going to be on Robert's show again. So we asked Mary to join us, and we're going to have her back again so we can really have a super long talk with Mary. But just give us a little brief description about yourself.
Brief version about myself.
Yes.
I was born in Connecticut. I was raised in Connecticut. I went to school in Connecticut, and I currently live in Connecticut, which sounds a little dull, but trust me, there's plenty of stuff keeping me busy here. I've been 5 years retired from teaching. I was a special ed teacher for 29 years. I have been in contact with spiritual world since I can remember. When I was little, it was nap time. I didn't mind taking a nap because the colors would come and dance between the bars of my crib. So my earliest memories are of what I thought was normal. Didn't find out till later that I was a freak, but that's okay. Sometime in my 20s, I connected with some people, and they connected me with more people, and pretty soon I realized there were lots of freaks like me in Connecticut. And I was delighted to get my hands on this publication called The Door Opener, which was at that point like a mimeographed and stapled little resource in Connecticut for getting in touch with other people doing spiritual New Age kinds of things.
Sorry, what was the name of the book?
It's called The Door Opener. It's The Door Open. It's also now online called The Open Door. You can find them online. They're a great resource for finding practitioners in Connecticut and Massachusetts, as well as different articles bringing you into different realms of understanding. For me, it was a major relief to find out there are people like me out there actually doing this without, without having to worry about hiding that they were different. They were actually, having businesses doing it. And, 25 years later, I was completely beside myself delighted to find that some of the people at this holistic practitioners breakfast that I used to frequent were the original creators of The Open Door, The Door Opener magazine. So John Rowe and Beverly Titus, who are like the godparents of New Age thought in Connecticut, are still out there and still working and still, keeping the light. And now another wonderful woman named Dory Dazinski, who is a practitioner in Connecticut, is in charge of The Open Door. But I would urge you, any of you have questions or even an inkling that there might be something out there that's of interest to you, that's a really, really good place to start.
Awesome.
I'm trying to find the book online so I can put a link into the chat room.
It's not a book. It was a quarterly publication, a magazine. It's not a book. Okay. Try it. Try theopendoor.com. That might be it. They've only just gone over completely. Their last issue was a few months ago, their last paper issue. Anyway,
it's not the Open Door Pregnancy Center, is it?
I hope not. No.
I'm sure we'll come across it.
We'll figure it out.
You know what? It could be a .org too. I'm not entirely sure. I was, tied to the print magazine myself because I was tucked in nice next to your bed first thing you reach the morning and start reading. Anyway, so I began doing fairs in Connecticut. I began getting discouraged shortly thereafter when I was finding I was contacting not just dear departed spirits as a medium, but I was also connecting with spirit guides. I was connecting with angels, and more recently it's been archangels. And coming from a little girl raised Catholic, that's kind of hard to swallow, but it's taken me a couple of years to finally realize that if this is what I meant to do, if this is what I've chosen to do, then I better just stop avoiding it and just dig in. So that's where I am. I'm very happy living with my husband of 7 years. I've got 2 amazing children who are off on their own adventures in college and at work in theater. And pretty much now I can spend my days making my art, which is available on Etsy. Little plug for myself. Mostly I'm specializing now in toys and other items that provide sensory integration for people like me who have anxiety or depression, or like my mom had Alzheimer's, or like many of my students have autism. But I try to make them age appropriate. A woman who spent 20 years as a judge doesn't really want to play with a Minnie Mouse beanbag during physical therapy. So I make them out of velvet and tapestry. I've got nothing against Minnie Mouse, but I think that if you're accustomed to a certain degree of elegance in your life, then that dignity of your taste should follow you even when you don't maybe recognize them all the time. But I think it's and it's hard because a lot of the things the elderly are working on are very simple, basic things like manual dexterity, manipulation of items, dressing and tying and buttoning. So the first thing you think of is, well, Dressy Bessie. Well, no, not Dressy Bessie. Not Dressy Bessie. Something a little more age appropriate, something that I've been making sea stars out of various different textured fabrics, corduroy and sequin material. And I've been putting emeralds in them, 5 emeralds or 5 amethysts or 5 sea quartz. And what the object is to, when all of the rocks or the center of the starfish is for the person working on it to push one pebble in through to the point of each arm of the sea star. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but it involves a little bit of, manual dexterity and some planning. And the best part is the pieces can't fall and roll away under the table. It's all self-contained, that kind of thing. So I'm using my skills as a special educator and all the years I've spent working with OTs and PTs to make things that are appropriate for adults. Because, once they're out of school, it doesn't stop. They still have these issues. I also have my friend pump my stuff full of Reiki energy. I put healing into the stones I use. I use rose quartz and amethyst and emeralds that are easily available by the pound sometimes on eBay, and I do that. But as far as psychic stuff is too, I do private readings. I can do them for you over the phone or Skype. I prefer in person. I usually draw while I'm reading so that the person who's done gets a drawing of the images I've seen, the spirits who visited.
Yeah, I was just going to hit on that. I did put the link for your Etsy shop in the chat room. And, I wanted to hit on that because, when you would do the shows on Roberts, I would always wait till the next week. So Mary would color, and sometimes on a paper plate, but she would color, while she was giving the readings. And it was so awesome. And, the things that she would see and come across, I often go back and look at mine. You want to touch on that a little bit? Oh, yes.
Wow. A woman came up to me today. I was doing a gig this afternoon in Avon. A new center's opening up.
Mm-hmm.
What are they called now? They're called Sharing the Light Holistic Healing Center. It's 3 partners who do Reiki, and they also do other things in other domains. Yeah, they're in Avon, Connecticut, and they're just opening up. This was their grand opening weekend, and I was there doing readings, and a woman walked in. She says, "I know you." I said, "Is that good?" And she says, "Yes, it's great." I'm like, "Okay, how do you know me? What have I done?" And she said, no, I had done a reading for her about 2 years ago at Unicorn Meadow Farm in Suffield in Connecticut, another wonderful place to visit. And she said it changed her life, and she had framed her drawing, and I was floored. I don't remember readings. It's not my job. It's like trying to remember everyone's phone message you've ever taken. You don't, I provide a service, and I get the message across, and it really is amazing. It is so touching. It is such a great thing when I hear back from people that it really made a difference. The information I was able to channel them was completely useful, very helpful, ongoing, and it helped them make major changes and open their lives in beautiful ways. And I'm so honored. I'm like, yeah, so when people tell me this, they got a picture, I'm just tickled pink.
Yeah. I'm going to tell everybody the thing that really floored me with Mary was I got a reading from Mary, and she was telling me that I was going to feel spirit touch me on the back of my neck, and that it was going to feel like, the cobweb effect. And it wasn't even 2 days later. Thank goodness a friend of mine had called me, divine timing. A friend of mine had called me, and I was just on the phone with her, and there was nobody in the house but me. And thank goodness she was on the phone, or I would have probably jumped out the damn window. And I was just about to tell her about this amazing reading that Mary, and I felt the touch. And yes, it did scare me, and I nearly did jump out the window, but I knew immediately what it was. But I was floored. 2 days later. I will never forget that as long as I live.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate hearing that. Really, you never know. I tell people I'm just dropping in pebbles. I'm doing what I can. and they go off with it. And I rarely hear about how it comes out, but thank you for sharing that.
That's something I'll never, ever, ever forget. And I was just so grateful that you gave me the warning. But, and it was beautiful. After I realized, oh wow, this is it, I did my crying, but that is something I'll never forget. And I just thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome so much. Thank you for telling me that. Yeah, it's amazing when you have a physical manifestation of a spiritual entity. I mean, a lot of us were raised saying our prayers before bed, having guardian angels, going to church, worshiping a God far away. And when angels and spirit guides make their presence known in a physical way in our three-dimensional place, we are so struck by it. Sometimes, even doing readings, sometimes when I come across something or mention something or a little tiny important detail comes through, I am still gobsmacked and amazed. It's so you can trust it and it works, and I'm never tired of that. Never. Recently I was doing a reading. No, I mean, not very recently, but I was at Unicorn Meadow Farm doing gallery readings where we have about, whoever shows up, 5, 10, 15, and I'll do readings for everyone around the room. They all get a drawing, and I was drawing for the woman, Nancy Allen, who is one of the owners of the farm. And I was drawing someone. I was getting very detailed, what kind of shirt he had. And I said, this is your uncle? She says, yeah, that's his favorite shirt. I was like, oh, that's cool. And I was drawing him, and I kept picking up a crayon and putting it down. I kept picking up a crayon and putting it down. I finally said, Nancy, help me. She says, what's wrong? I said, I can't draw his hands. And she says, he doesn't have any hands. He had come back from war without his hands. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Still gives me shit.
Yeah.
So even when you're the psychic, you never know what's going on. It's not like I'm, the psychic. I'm, the human. Because truly, there is nothing that I do as a medium, as a channel, as an intuitive that cannot be taught to anyone in, I'm telling you, 10 minutes. I've done it. I've had people, like, well, sit down. You want to do this? We'll do this. And it's like turning the switch from FM to AM. You've known it was there. You never thought it was for you. And the day you turn the switch, you realize you have access to all different kinds of frequencies.
Exactly.
If I had learned to play the piano and practice playing the piano, I would be able to play the piano. It's the same thing with connecting with spirit. In fact, what I find is that being psychic is like the side effect of spiritual development. The more closely I align myself with higher energies, the more closely I bring them into my life through practice or through meditation, the more I open up psychically. And that's like a side effect. It's what happens because you're spiritual. And if you want to just go ahead and learn to be a psychic and there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone has what they came in to do. But for me, it's been the most amazing connection. And the psychic stuff is, like I said, just the gravy. It's the extra part that comes along from connecting with those higher energies.
Exactly. Yeah, I was afraid. I've been dealing with this since before my teenage years, and, if it was a crazy life, and I would put it to the back, and then, somebody else would pass, and it gets stronger and stronger, and it wasn't until 2011 that I finally had no choice, but I had to embrace it. And if I wouldn't have had Robert Sharp's show, which, that was crazy how I was directed there, and then found all you wonderful people, I was hiding, and, my children had grown up with it, and, some of the stuff did scare them. And that was at a time that, they thought I was going crazy. I just lost another loved one, and, oh, you're crazy, and, oh, mom's going nuts. We're going to have to put her in the home. And I learned to embrace it. And, it was Robert's show, and, finding everybody along the way, and connecting with you and other people that really brought on my gifts. And now I'm doing it, and it is amazing.
I know, it's wonderful.
Yes, it is. And I get gobsmacked all the time myself. It's like, wow, where did that come from? Or, something comes out, and it's like, I didn't used to trust it, and I sometimes like, hey, I better not say that. Well, then you go ahead and say
Then
it,
they'll come up a different way.
and it comes out, and it just means so much more, and it just it just starts flowing. So yeah, I love it. I love it.
I love it too. Yeah, my kids called me the angel of death because they're mean, but they're not that mean. But no, it's in my life that I have, in my 20s, I lost some people that were the dearest of the dear to me.
Yeah.
And it never let up. There was the dearest friend died, and then my friend's baby died, and then my cousin killed himself, and then my boyfriend died. It was like I'm not waking up. Being conscious is painful, but there was a night when I was thoroughly convinced that it was not a good thing to be alive anymore because consciousness was painful, and I was painting this little picture. It's my cousin's house, and I was painting, and it was the day after Thanksgiving, and I couldn't imagine having just gone through my first Thanksgiving without that dear friend who had recently died. I didn't imagine how I could possibly have Christmas without him. And I was really in a dark place, and I was thinking, I just want to be with him. It doesn't hurt when I'm with him, even though, so I've got, you're thinking, well, what's the quickest way to be with him? Well, obviously that would be to leave your life behind you. And so, I don't know now from the perspective of 30 years whether I would have gone through with something, but at the time it was pretty painful to be conscious and alive. But I left the painting I was working on, went to the bathroom, got a drink of cranberry juice, came back to the living room, and I looked at it, and it was extraordinary because it wasn't what I was painting. It ended up, it's on my business card. If you've seen my angel, then you know what I painted because that was it. It looks like an angel standing behind a gravestone with snow on it is what it looks like. Totally blew my mind. Not what I was aiming to paint. I was trying for a little house with lights on inside, and it would be like, for me, Christmas wasn't going to be Christmas. I was removing myself from it. I was outside of Christmas. It didn't exist for me. And that's not at all what I painted. What I painted was, a spirit. And I felt very distinctly my dear friend saying, stop being a jerk. It's how I stopped being a jerk.
Yeah.
And that painting was, and that's why I put it on my business card. It's not just because it's a great image, and it is, but because it was so meaningful to me that one image could be so powerful and so reassuring and bring such a strong message. So, and I'll tell people, if you don't use a business card, fine, it's your angel. It's a pretty angel to put on your desk. And people do that, which cracks me up, which I love. That's why I call myself a spiritual impressionist, is because when I see a spirit, I can paint it. I can paint the angels. I can paint, from visions I've had and visitations I've had. But even like when I'm just using crayons in a reading, I'm focusing in on what's where around a person, whether it's an angel, whether it's a spirit guide or a person who's gone on. And it's a really remarkable thing because having gone through it myself, I have the empathy. When my children, a dear friend of both my children, killed herself a couple of years ago. She was only 15, and my kids were only slightly older than she was. It's devastating for them, but I never thought that my dearest friend's death would be a blessing in my life until I was able to be with my children in their grief and to hold that grief with them and to know what it felt like truly to feel that bereft of such a precious life. So it takes away the judgment on something. You could say something terrible happened to me, and it was terrible. It was terrible for a long time, but 2 years ago, it was the biggest blessing in my life because it gave me what I needed to give my children what they needed.
Exactly.
You can't judge something. You can see it. You can know what it is, but until you've really lived with it and looked at it from all sides and grown old with it, it sometimes the worst is the best possible blessing you can have. Sometimes getting fired from that job is the impetus you need to go in a different direction. Sometimes a husband leaving you is the biggest favor he can do for you because it leaves you open to fall in love again.
Exactly.
So anyone who's listening, who's having an upheaval, who's having a difficulty, don't judge it as this is a horrible thing. See it as what it is. This is a disruption. This is an opportunity. This is a change. This is a gift. It's so long and so hard sometimes to get through things. but there's usually a light behind it. Just you have to trust that it's there.
Exactly. I have a question for you. Do you often get people letting you know ahead of time that they are going to be leaving, or somebody else is letting you know that somebody is going to be going to heaven pretty soon?
Sometimes I know. Sometimes I know the moment I lay eyes on them. I used to have an antique store, and I was in a group shop, and I was coming around the bend, and a man was coming up the stairs to come to the store, and I knew two things immediately. I knew that he was going to be very important in my life, and I knew he was dying. And I said, "Oh no, I'm not doing that again." So this is just a couple of years after the other people in my life had left. I was like, I'm not going through that again. So I turned right around and put myself in the back room, and I polished some silver. I said, I'm not meeting this man. He's going to leave. I don't care. So about 5 minutes later, the owner of the shop came out. She was, a man, here's a question about something in your shop, about the price. Something that's ridiculous. I just priced everything in my shop, and I know everything. So I came out, and I was like, damn, there he is. It's the man that was the man I'd seen. And he was asking about the price of this Art Deco canister set. And we got talking about Art Deco. We got talking about life. We got talking about spirituality and past lives. And then, the shop closed. We went for coffee, and we talked for 3 more hours. And we had dinner together and talked for 4 more hours. And I was, I didn't want to have a friend that was going to leave. But, it was a marvelous 6-8 months we knew each other before he died. It was like meeting an old friend, so
Right.
I knew immediately when I met him. I knew immediately he had AIDS, and, that was something that was, and I tried to avoid it. I went in the back room to polish silver,
Exactly.
It was a great relationship. Yeah. I've also had times when I haven't known. I was reading for a friend of mine once, and she was, had a boyfriend. It was kind of going along, but it was never kind of going anywhere stronger, and she wondered about that. And I remember it was like fall. And I said, in the spring, there's something that happens that makes him realize how much you really mean to him. And that was very powerful for him. And I think then he's going to, realize how you want to more permanently in his life. And she says, oh, good. She felt so much better. Okay. Well, I didn't know what was going to happen to bring him closer to her was her father was going to die. I had no inkling. All I had was, I knew there was a major change coming up that would make him realize how much he cared for her. And it was shortly after her father's funeral that he sat her down and said, I stood there and watched you when I was, in love with you, and I want to marry you. And so out of that sorrow is what brought him to realize truly how much she meant him in his life. And so then they became married about 1.5 years later. But no, I had no inkling his father was going to die. So she said to me, why didn't you tell me my father was going to die when you did that reading for me? I said, I wasn't shown. That wasn't the question. The question was, what about Jim in my life? And the answer was, he's going to grow closer to you from some other source. So, I know you're given what you need to be given. You're told what you need to know.
Right.
You don't go into a marriage expecting you're going to ever get divorced, so you wouldn't get married,
Exactly.
You don't want to know sometimes. And if I'm not supposed to know it or share it, I don't get it.
Right. I just asked, I always had people telling me that they were ready to go, or they'd come visit right before they were going to go, or come to me the night before. But a lot of my children's friends, kids that hung around my home when they were growing up, a lot of them are no longer here. And we did just lose some more, but it's getting more frequent that I'm being shown, or somebody's giving me a message that something's about to happen, and there's nothing I can do about it, and then it happens. So I just I was wondering, how that if that happened to you a lot. It's pretty hard when it does happen.
Yeah, I can bet. It's like that powerlessness. I've found when someone called me and said, this one's in the hospital, that one's close to death, I will do what I can to send healing and energy to that person for whatever form healing takes. And I know full well that a lot of times it takes a lot of energy to cross over. That sometimes it's that healing you send them that helps them on their way. So you can affect the change. You can make it easier, more comforting, more comfortable. So don't feel as though you can't do it. Stopping it is not the only option. Helping them have the peace and the dignity and the grace to leave their lives gently and in love. That's the gift. That's what you can do. And I know it doesn't feel like a lot given the wall of grief that comes crashing down on you afterwards, but it's a powerful thing. When my grandfather had cancer, I love this little grandpa. He was the best. And I took a bunch of emeralds and I meditated with them a few times, and I sent energy into them, and I put them in a little bundle under his mattress at my parents' house where he had gone to live the last days. And I would every day, morning and afternoon, meditate, and in the meditation I would beam energy directly from my heart chakra into those stones and then push the energy upward into his body in whatever way it needed it. I didn't think I was going to heal him. I just wanted him to not be in pain. I wanted him to be able to die quietly at home. But I just sent him healing and healing and healing and healing and healing, and thinking nothing of it. Well, eventually he died, and eventually I retrieved my emerald, and it wasn't till we were at his wake, and I was standing with some of my cousins, and I had my back to my mom in the receiving line, but I heard an old neighbor say, "Oh, was he awful? Was it okay from the end? Did he suffer?" My mother said, "No, that was the strangest thing. He was on a combination of things, and he was on morphine, and even the morphine wasn't helping him, because even though he was still having pain, he was groggy, and he didn't want to be groggy. He wanted to be there to spend time with the grandchildren and his daughters. So the doctor said, well, there's one thing we can try, but he's got to be off the morphine completely, and that'll take about 3 days, which will mean he's looking at 3 days with no medication at all. He was in extreme pain. They weren't sure if that was going to work. But Grandpa didn't want to be on morphine, so they took him off it. And nothing happened. He wasn't in any pain. So I'm standing there at my grandfather's wake, and I fell into a chair, and my cousin's like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "Nothing's wrong. Everything's perfectly right." I hadn't asked my parents. I hadn't checked with anybody, hadn't told anybody, but here is my mother telling me the last 2 weeks of my grandfather's life, he spent lucid and pain-free, and nobody knew why.
Wow. That's awesome.
So you never know what the results are just from your heart. Send it directly in the greatest love you can imagine. Send healing. And if the person is to accept the healing, that person will accept the healing in any way, the best way possible for them. I didn't miraculously cure his cancer. He was, almost 93 when he died. He'd lived a beautiful, long life, and he was ready to go. And I even told him the night before he died, I said, "Grandpa, we love you, but if you want to go, you go ahead." 4 hours later, he was dead. Anyway, I've also connected with, thank you. So never be afraid to send that love, that energy. It goes from you.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for that.
Going. You're welcome.
Yeah, I've been struggling with it. I've been, like I said, quite a few have left just recently, and either I get the, know about it right before, or before anybody else does, and sometimes it's just really hard. And then, of course, they do come back and visit after they're gone, and they're worried about everybody that they left behind. But sometimes it does get a little bit much. But thank you very much for that. That really does help.
You're welcome. You know what I find too? It's the most unnatural thing for us as adults to see people younger than us die. It's when my children's friend killed herself. I've been in that position. I've been in that position when I was in my 20s, but something happens, you don't do it, and you're glad you didn't do it. You look back at your life and go, thank you myself for not letting me do that to myself. And you mourn for the ones that don't have it. And I think if you can look at it as you help them achieve a wholeness and a fullness in their lives that they wouldn't have gotten had they not known you. You know, your house was where they went to relax, to be safe. You gave them that, and they carried that with them. You know, I was in love with a young man who died in the height of our romance, and it was devastating, the loss. And I remember feeling that, you know what? I was able to make his last months on earth happy. How many people get to have that honor? To bring a new energy, a joy, a love into someone's life so that the last thing they remember is that they're happy when they die.
Right.
I've learned to look at things from different perspectives, so I can wring comfort out of anything.
Oh, yeah.
But it's what sustains you, and it goes on. I mean, I have in my head, I think heaven is what you expect it to be. So first thing I do when I cross over, I'm going to, top that dune, and there will be my two closest friends who died. So, sitting on the blanket saying, "What took you so long?" and handing me a cigarette. You know what? Because that's the first thing I'm doing when I get to heaven. I'm having a cigarette because it won't going to kill me anymore. And I miss them. It's been 16 years now, and I still want a cigarette. Anyway, so
Wow.
Bob hands me a cigarette, and Christopher says, "But it took you so long." And we sit down, look at the ocean, and I know further up the hill, there's that big porch where my grandmother is pouring lemonade for all the aunts who have died, and the uncles and the cousins, and they're all out there. And I know later we're going to have pasta for dinner, and someone's going to pull a guitar out on the porch. We're going to sing songs by moonlight. That's heaven for me. Everyone I love in one place. Having dinner and laughing and telling stories and singing. So I know where I'm going when I leave here. And I know that everyone I love is there having a blast without me. So
exactly.
I go, so it's, it's been a few years it's taken me to build that house and see everyone out there. But, it's nice to know that they're all there having lemonade and enjoying the beach, the nice breeze, the day.
Right. Or causing chaos in your house. Just a joke.
You're right.
They often have parties here, so but I'm okay with that. I am okay with that now. Oh.
Yeah.
If does anybody in the chat room have any questions for Mary, you can raise your hand, or you can, like Darlene said, type in all caps in the chat room. Darlene, you want to unmute yourself? Yeah.
Well, at least I wasn't talking while I was muted.
Okay.
I paid attention to the little line there. Hi, Mary. Thanks for coming on. You get, like Jennifer was saying, I remember one show that you did grapes. You were on Robert's show and you were doing the grapes, and I looked at the picture after. It was pretty cool. But what is it that when you're doing a reading, what is it that starts you to say, okay, this reading, I need to color, I need to doodle, I need to start something? Or is it, do you pre-plan it, or is it just something that sort of...
Oh, no, you can't plan for this. No. I have the crayons out and I have the paper in front of me. That's
okay, so you're ready. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't type of thing. Okay.
Oh, it always happens. There's never, in fact, sometimes before I do a radio show or sometimes before I do a gallery reading, it goes through my head, oh my God, what am I doing? I don't know these people. I'm thinking, Mary, relax. It's not you anyway. I go, oh yeah, that's right. It's something I have to do. Most of this get out of my own way and let it come through. How to explain this? All right, imagine your kitchen. Can you imagine your kitchen?
Mm-hmm.
You see it in clear detail, right? You're not seeing it physically in front of you. You have a very clear idea in your head what that looks like, okay? That's what it's like. I get an image. It's like a memory. Or I get a shift of energy around a person. And I've learned, I have this little map. I don't know how it works for other people, but for me, if a person is facing me, people, the dear departed who are around them come on one level. They come like around the level between the person's elbow and shoulder. If there's a flicker or a movement there, that's usually for me where I pick up the essence of dear departed. From about the shoulder height to their heads, that's usually where spirit guides come in. And that's if I'm getting an energy from that sesh, I can open myself to it and realize that it's what it is. Angels, archangels come from above the head, any point above the person. Ancestors come between shoulder and elbow, and they fan off behind the person in angles. Usually I get mothers on one side and father's side the other side. So if I'm picking up an energy that feels like a male, but I feel it between their shoulder and their head, what I'm feeling is a male sort of spirit guide, and then I'll get the image. You know, it might be someone wearing Turkish slippers and a turban. It might be someone who's a Native American. It might be a tailor on a mountainside somewhere doing sewing in the sunshine in a hillside in Greece. You know, I will get clearly what the image is I'm supposed to be getting. I don't do past lives anymore because I simply don't believe in linear time anymore. I can talk about another life. My husband's chatting in the other room. Can you hear him? I'll have a quiet down.
That's okay.
So hold on. Let me just remind him that I'm on the air.
She's hitting so many high points here.
I know.
Walk away. Anyway, little house. So for my own little map, but what happens though is when I just draw on the paper where I'm seeing. Like today, I felt as though a woman I was working with had a very protective, energetic, not a sphere, but kind of like someone had outlined her in glowing pale lavender light. So I drew that shape of that pale lavender light, and then I felt as if, you know, I asked her there was some spirit, and it was, and so I drew that heart to heart connection, and it's simply a matter of drawing what you see. You know, if you set up a still life for yourself with a wine bottle and a pear, then you would be able to draw that wine bottle and that pear because you're looking at it and you get it from one perspective and you just draw what you see. There's nothing, like I said, nothing spooky about what I'm doing. I'm simply turning into my more subtle senses. We're on Earth and we're used to 5 senses and we're used to 3 dimensions, and we are all dutifully taught our 5 senses and what they can do, and you know, we use them, and that's how we measure things. Scientists measure repeatable data and do experiments and they look for the same corroborating data, and they often get it, and they use their senses and their little scopes and little gizmos to measure measurable, observable data. Well, that's fine for 5 senses, but you also have 7 chakras. You have 7 energy centers that are with you since before birth, and you don't know about it until you're told, guess what? These are energy centers. And that's the easiest way to point things out to people is to show them where their chakras are, and it wigs them out. But they can't deny it because it's physically happening to them. Yeah. From there, it's just a matter of being able to tune into the energy of an entity or an energy around a person, emotion, and feel which chakra it's associated with. And that's where, you know, you can talk to, that's how I know when there's a connection with a heart or an anger or communication, because I can sense where that chakra is being blocked or enhanced. It's just a sensory perception on a completely different level, a different vibration. So
because I couldn't draw a straight line to save my life, but I get what you mean because I'll see it, but not see it. It's just kind of like I know it.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
So,
you draw a circle where there's a circle. You know, you draw. Let me tell you, sometimes when I'm painting, I can do extraordinary detail, and I can, you know. But when I'm doing a crayon drawing and it's a 20-minute reading, I'm not. I mean, I certainly do shade and I add colors. I usually try to add as many of the colors as I'm feeling are coming through, so they get an idea of the aura that's involved. Like today when I was drawing Gabriel, he showed up in a beautiful way. You know, he comes in a lot in those very quiet dawn colors, like that pale yellow that's kind of orangey, that kind of pinkish orange paleness of the sky. That's how he comes through. Sometimes pale yellow, very bright white light. So Gabriel for me comes through in those shades. So when I get those shades, I can tell who that is. Raphael, the archangel for healing, comes in the most deep, beautiful blue sapphire. And that comes in, like, if I'm looking at a person, that will show up more to the front of the person, on the person's left side, usually coming up from below the person. Gabriel usually comes up from behind the right shoulder. Michael, I had a dream once, and it was a man. He was red. He had wings, and I was like, "Wow, red bird man! I'm dreaming about a red bird man." So I was telling about this dream I had about this red bird man, and so I said, "Mary," and I said, "What?" They go, "That was an archangel. That's not a bird." I'm like, "Oh, it's right. It's an angel. It's not a red bird man." And something as obvious as, Archangel Michael, I was calling a red bird man because that's what I saw. I saw a man in red. So for me, Michael comes in a beautiful scarlet color. Usually he traverses a person from right to left, and that's how I know it's his energy. That's where I pick it up. I'm sure anyone else who works on me, what?
Not everybody sees the same colors. This is specific because for Michael, okay, let's go for
Great.
Raphael. You see it in a you said scarlet blue?
No, sapphire blue.
Sapphire blue.
And I even asked him, I said, wait a minute. For me, green has always been the heart chakra. It's always been the energy. I've used emeralds for healing. For me, healing is always green. And how do you come up with this sapphire color? And he just kind of laughed. I love when they laugh. And he said, but what is more healing than peace? Because for me, peace, blue has always been peace.
Yeah.
So for me, that's how he manifests. I've had, and I'm not saying that, if you don't see blue, it's not, it's not.
Yeah, no, it's like everybody else sees.
I see blue. That's how I know it's him. Yeah, when you're a psychic, or, some people develop your own way. I know people who are more auditory. They'll hear the words, or they feel as if they've heard them in their voice, in their head, and they speak out the words they're hearing. I sometimes will feel pain. It's especially annoying when it's someone who's died of something like emphysema, and I start coughing, and pretty soon I'm choking unless someone identifies the person. The person persists, and the symptom gets harder until someone finally claims it, or I fall over. It's like, please, someone call. I'll feel the pain where there's pain. I can feel cancer where there's been cancer. And that's usually with the dear departed. Everyone is different. Everyone has a different way of coloring. Everyone has a different way of playing music. Everyone has a different way of interpreting what's around them. And I'm very grateful that I've been doing this long enough that patterns have evolved for me. And maybe they're there because I look there for them. Maybe they aren't there just that's where my preference is. I'm not sure how it works. I'm a very visual person. So for me, things appear in certain places in certain visual parameters, so.
Okay. So you've done
sometimes.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You've done a few radio shows, and I think I've heard you once. Each time somebody calls you up for a reading, and do they have to have a question, or can they give a general? How does that? Which is the one you're most comfortable with? If somebody puts their hand up and wants a reading, do you want them to have a question, or can you? Some people like it more general, so you get what you give what you get, not specific. Like as I always say, you get what you need, not what you want.
Exactly.
No.
I'll usually say how can I help you? And they'll usually, some of them have a question. Often it's about a parent or relationship or a job change. Many times it's not any of those things. Or what I do when I go have readings, because I do it from time to time, and I'll say, what am I missing? Because I think the hardest thing as a psychic, same as with a healer, is work on yourself.
Yeah.
So most people will come with specific reasons why they've sought out a reading. They want to have a specific issue. I also, with Robert's show, we have the rule. Our only rule is don't ask if he's coming back because he's not. That's the rule.
And that's a good rule.
Because I've asked that question. And the answer is he's not coming back. He might for a little while, but dash in your hopes and leaves again. And then you'll feel worse because you trust him the second time. And you know what? No, he's not coming back. Don't ask. Answered already. Next. So Robert will say, any of you with that question, you hang up now. But then people still try, what about this? And I'll say, I'm sorry, no. Well, what about that? It's like, did you call me because you wanted an answer you wanted to hear? And I understand that. I've been in that boat. I've been that leaky boat more times than I want to admit to.
Yeah. I think we all
But
have.
because what I do before I do readings is I ask, especially Gabriel, because he's the communicator, and I say, Gabriel, send me who needs me. Send me someone who needs information, comfort or joy or education, whatever it is they need. Bring them, because I'm open to hearing what they need to hear.
Yeah. Because like Diane in the chat room, she says, I can never think of a question I have when I have a reading. And I'm kind of the same way. If I come up with a question, I kind of sort of know the answer. So it's like, for me, I'm like, moot point of asking the question, Darlene,
Yep.
So it's
a good question might be, does someone have a message for me?
Okay.
That leaves you open to the dear departed, spirit guides, angels, archangels, other entities coming in from other worlds. I mean, if you just, does someone have a message for me, is a really good way, because you might never anticipate that Raphael has something to tell you.
Okay. I also like the question, what am I missing? I like that one.
Well, yeah, because the biggest, most wonderful shock of my life when I was with a woman who was channeling Master Katumi, and I said, what am I missing? And he said, nothing. Just keep doing what you're doing. And you could have knocked me right over. It was the most wonderful thing. Because normally they tell me, oh, patience, oh, this, oh, that, work on this. And I'm like, it's fine. I want to hear it. I'm asking. That's why I want to know. What am I missing? Because I'm pretty dense sometimes. I can be. Like the Red Birdman. He was a Red Birdman. No, he's an archangel. Oh, yeah. So I can be pretty dense.
Just like smack you in the back of the head.
Hello, yes, pay attention, Mary. Red Birdmen are often called angels. Okay. That to me is the funniest thing. I just can't get over that. How dense am I, But anyway,
Mary,
some psychic.
how would you feel if we've got a couple people wanting to know if you have a message for them, and Diane would like to know if there's a message for her. I asked her if she wants to call in, and we've got Corrine that's going to call in.
Okay. Sure. I'm
waiting
here.
for Diane to.
Job, right?
I don't know if Diane's going to call in.
I don't know if Diane's going to call in or if she wants to just go through the chat.
I can just tell her.
Okay. Diane. Jane, this one is for you.
All right, Diane. I'm getting you in vehicles and transportation, and I want to make sure that you have safe transportation. So I would like for you, if there's something you've been putting off looking into, a rattle or a clang, please do check it out, right? I'm concerned about you traversing safely. Traveling is something that I feel you're going to be doing more of, especially around the holidays. And it feels as though I want you to be able to get there on time without breaking down, is what it feels like. It feels like it's more of a car than any other kind of transport. It's not like a train running late or a plane. This feels like a car that needs some attention. Okay, I think in the past the same thing's happened and it hasn't been a problem. This time it could cause a problem. So,
and she is saying yes.
That's the first thing.
She's saying yes, it makes sense, very much so.
Good.
Get that taken care of, Diane. She says thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome, Diane.
Corrine, are you calling in?
I just unmuted you, sugar.
Hey.
Hey, Corrine, how you doing?
Okay, I hope I'm not echoing you guys. Okay, so hi, Mary, how are you?
Hi, Corrine, I'm great. How are you? What can I do for you?
I'm okay. Well, I just want to ask the question, what you just suggested, which I think is a great question. Is there something I'm missing?
I want to tell you that your body needs your attention. It feels to me as though you are the fastest one to respond when someone needs something, When there's a fundraiser, you're there. If there's a volunteer thing, you're there. But I'm feeling as though you are neglecting the care of your own body. I'm feeling as though I'm not getting enough water. I'm feeling as though you need more rest. You need more deep sleep. I know you can take naps, but it feels as though you need to, at least for a few months, maybe 3, get in a routine. Go to bed at the same time. Get up when you want to. Rest more. Rest. Unplugging from social media and devices for an hour before you go to bed is a really good thing. Having more water for you is a very good thing. I want you to rub something soothing into your skin. Okay? I'm feeling especially your shoulders need some attention and a little stress relief. We used to use warm olive oil on our knees and our shoulders, so that might be something to consider. I want you to consider looking at yourself as being the person to pamper, the person to care for.
Okay.
Does that help?
Okay.
Yeah, I do. Yes, it makes sense that I don't take care of myself, but I have to say, I sleep a lot. Like if I sleep more hours, Mary, I'll be dead.
Well, don't be dead. I'm feeling like it has to be maybe then you sleeping in that it's when you sleep is between this hour and that hour, and then the rest of the time you're not. You maybe sometimes too much sleep is because of not enough exercise or depression. But it feels to me with you as though you need to be in a regular sleep pattern, which would mean if you went to bed at 10 o'clock and woke up like at 7, that would be when you sleep, and that's what you hold to. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Does your shoulder hurt? Do your shoulders hurt? I'm especially getting, your left shoulder feels like. I want you to do something about that. I don't know if there's a salve you can use or like Tiger Balm or something, but I feel like your shoulder has an ache to it that needs some attention. Okay.
Okay, I think I'm echoing, so I'm sorry if I'm delayed here. Okay, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's like, it seems, you know what, Mary, like often I'm like, I don't want to take care of myself. I don't really care. You know what I mean? I mean, I care, but it's like boring to me. I don't know.
Yeah. I know. Well, no, it's the same, some of us do the same thing. I know I should get more exercise. I love putting on that YouTube and just dancing in the kitchen like the old days, but I don't always do it. Why? I don't know. Because we're human and we're lazy, and that's okay. But you know what? You are very involved in lots of things in people's lives, and you enjoy the people that are in your life. But the best thing to do is be able to stay here with them. And to do that, you've got to put some attention to your physical person. If you don't enjoy, I would never go to a spa. The last thing you catch me is having a total stranger touching my toenails. No, thank you. So that's not my thing. So I don't get that at all. Miss that gene. But there are ways you can take care of yourself, your own particular self. And that might be too, I feel like I want more water. My skin feels dry. So I feel like I want you to drink some more water or do more things for your skin. Pick a scent you like. There's all kinds of everything in every scent you can imagine. I like lavender because it's also soothing and calming emotionally for me. So I am very often, especially now it's winter and the heat's on, the air is dry. Okay, if you don't want to do something specifically, if you have, I don't know what kind of heat you have. We have old radiators, so I fill all the bowls up with water, live on the radiators. It helps hydrate the air some more. I don't know. There are other ways to take care of things without having to go through ritualized, annoying things that take up. You want to get up and go on. You don't want to spend 20 minutes, putting lotion on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
do it.
Yeah.
Find something you enjoy. And that way you will be able to engage in an activity that's healthy for you, but at the same time, you're enjoying it. Otherwise, because I can't see you sticking around if it's just not fun.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, I know. It's like, I've been told that message probably a few times now. And, you know what? I have
And
to
you're
get
right.
it, or else I'm gonna be made to get it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know that indeed, my dear. I know that indeed. So, what's your favorite scent? Is it sandalwood? Is it gardenia?
Oh
What do you
yes,
like?
I love sandalwood. Yeah, sandalwood.
All right, so here's something. I love those little eBay shops or Amazon, or Etsy. Go on a site that has, write in sandalwood body lotion, body salve, or whatever. I don't like lotions. I hate how it slaps about and drools and falls off and runs the wrong way, and it's too much in your hands. I hate that stuff. But I'm big on body salves that are more beeswax and, essential oils. And so it's like I keep the tin in my pocket until it softens up, and I just, smooth it where I want it, and there's no dripping and there's no excess. So, maybe it's just the species that you've been using. Maybe you don't like that drippy lotion. I don't. But find a means to get your body what it needs.
Right.
Because you're going to hear it. That's what the speaks tell me. Until you get it, they'll just keep handing you the same thing. They'll keep saying, it's like my doctor. Oh, you have too much cholesterol. I know. Oh, you got too. I know. I'm working on it. And it's something that exists, and I either have to handle it or I'm going to be hearing about it.
Mhm. So Mary, I know you're a medium as well. Do you pick up anyone with any message for me, perhaps? Or if you don't worry about it. I just thought I'd ask.
Okay. I feel a woman in spirit on your mother's side, but it's not your mother. Is there an aunt that you were close to in spirit?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling her around you. And now, did she like drink a lot of coffee and smoke a lot of cigarettes?
Yeah.
Huh, good. Well, she's telling you, listen to what she says. So, she's waving the cigarette. These are terrible for me. I should have stopped. So you have a chance to do things. So your aunt agrees with me, dear.
Yes, I'm sure everyone would agree with you.
I was just about ready to say, thank you, Mary. You nailed it.
Feel the love.
Oh, yeah, I feel the love. All right, thank you, Mary, for that message.
So, are you going to do anything about it? Because I could give you some message in 6 months. It's okay. Do something about it, woman. Come on.
No, I know. Come on, this is ridiculous. You're right,
We'll poke her.
We're always Mary.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and I appreciate you, Darlene, and Jennifer as well, and Brian. Thank you guys for having this show with Mary on it.
You know me loves you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to mute myself. I'll continue to listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg, for calling in. Anybody else have any questions or want to know anything? Hidden secrets? Share? Because if not, I'm going to have to ask.
I was just going to say, Darlene, I'm feeling that you may want to ask a question or hear something.
I'm afraid to, but I'm going to say.
No, you're not afraid, honey.
No. Going to learn. Is there anybody around me with something to tell me?
First of all, they're always around you, and they always have something to say. They're chatty around you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, again, this is your mother's side. Now I'm getting women, a lot of women. Was your mother's side very rich with female relatives, like aunts, cousins, sisters-in-law, second? I'm feeling like there's just a whole passel of them. Like the kind you'd walk in the kitchen, they'd all be standing around wiping dishes, laughing their heads off or something together. There's a very, very loving bond among women on your mother's side. Is this correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then the ones that are no longer here, they're saying they got dishes to wash in heaven too. So that sense of them, that when you're home alone and you're washing the dishes and you think of them and you start to think of them and you start to smile, then you start to get a little sad because they're not there. That's where you got to stop yourself. That's where you got to stop yourself and say, not I miss them, but thank God you're here. There's a line between joy and grief, and it's just what you choose to interpret it as. You feel this loving energy. Remember the times when families were together and loved to see them. And then you feel this immediate pang that, oh, but it's gone, lost forever, and I'm so sad. Don't let that pang bring grief. Let that pang be acknowledging that the feeling you feel is real and true and strong today as much as it was when they were when not in spirit, when they're embodied. Okay? It took me 30 years to figure this one out. That feeling of them being so close. If you say, oh, I miss you, and you clamp yourself up, it's like you close down a valve. You've stopped the flow of energy, and you've chosen grief instead. Instead of that, let it be like an opening, flowing the energy from those loving souls back to you as real and true as it always was. And then you can relax, and you can go, oh, thank you for being here. So love it when you're here. It's like going to the beach and picking up 2 handfuls of sand. You close them really tight and you leave one open. Where do you hold more sand? Never. When you squeeze tight, it contracts, closes your heart chakra, closes your heart, clamps you down. It's like folding a hose over. Nothing can flow. And when you relax it, you open up that hand of yours and open-handedly accept the love of these loved ones around you as still being real and available to you. That's when you start to giggle a little bit and you can sit down and have a laugh. And if you're crying, it's happy tears. It's not grief. Okay? You feel around you very much the spirits of the loved ones you've lost. And they around you because you're still a light. You're like that light in the back porch, and all those bugs say, "Oh, look, a light!" And they come banging themselves against you.
I'm a bug zapper.
And that's you're a bug zapper. No, you're not a bug zapper. You're the light that attracts them. I mean, sometimes spirits flying by will see that light, and they're headed for light, but they see yours first. So they kind of meander in. You know, you're a light. And of course your loved ones are still drawn to you and want to be around you and embrace you. Now more than ever, the feeling, the power women have, their connectedness, and their just life-giving properties we have are being acknowledged and hailed and being encouraged and praised and acknowledged. So, you know, you're part of a family of strong women who love and who laugh. So you keep doing that on Earth, and they'll keep doing it from where they are. Okay?
Thank you. Yes.
Very nice.
Awesome.
I'm going to mute, guys.
Okay. Brian would like to come on mic and wanted to know if anybody was there for him. But Brian, you can unmute yourself.
No, I'm sulking.
You're sulking. Well done. You go have a good sulk then, Brian. Why are you sulking, Brian?
Because I'm not used to being shut up. I wonder if, in all honesty, Mary, if you've got any messages for me, please. Very rarely do I ask, but you are so good.
Thank you. Huh. I feel is this your father in spirit or grandfather in spirit? The one who was very tight-jawed and seemed very grim all the time. Is that your father or your grandfather?
My father.
All right. Well, he's not so, it's like, he's gotten through. Yeah, he's with you a lot. And you either don't pay attention to him or you kind of just shrug it off because as you're thinking of him and having no reason to, so you shrug it off. He is there. He feels like he's much more kindly disposed toward you now than he was in his life. Does that make sense to you? I feel there was a very rigid I'm sorry, what?
I said that will be good.
Yeah. It feels as though there was a really kind of rigid arm's length quality to him when he was here. And that's, he said, the way it was, where he was raised. There was no hugging, there was no crying. That was women that did that stuff. And, being the man, not ever saying he loves you, not ever praising you when it was due, that was, him being, hard ass like his dad. It feels as though this is like a generations long way of men acting. And that's what it is, it's acting. It's not truly how they feel. It's an act. It's a required shell they wear to keep themselves apart. It's something, was he in the war? A war? Because it feels like something a soldier would learn. All crust, no soft, all strict and outside, and no emotion, because that is how you survived. And
no
it's
emotion.
almost like apologetic. Yeah, it's almost like he has been apologizing for, didn't realize what that would do to you.
Yeah.
Do you have a sister?
Yes.
Yeah, same thing with her. He was strict with her, just not a daddy, always a father,
That's it.
And he feels, he sees now what that's done to both of you. And he feels a pang, that if he'd known, he'd have done it differently. But he probably figures he wouldn't have, because that's how he was put together. So basically, he's around you now. He can tell you now he's proud of you. He can tell you now he loves you. He can tell you now he likes the way, I don't know, the way you treated your mother, his wife. I don't know if you had a special relationship with her, or you.
No.
Did he?
No, it was,
did he do a lot of? Yeah, it feels as though you took her. Did he hit you? I'm sorry, this is too personal to talk about on the radio, but I feel as though he's feeling regret toward what he's put you through, and he's he'd like to let you know he's there, and if you'll let him hang around more, because he never got the feeling that he was ever welcome, and he knew it was his fault. He still felt like that.
I might have to change my thinking then, Mary.
Well, forgiveness is a funny thing. You almost have to pry it loose like a oyster, but once it's free, it's so much more effortless.
It's funny you should say it, because I was talking to my brother in England only half an hour ago, and believe me, it's the same. It was way beyond belief what you've come up with there. It's fantastic, thank you. But,
well, you're welcome.
So no, my father never. That was my mother's job. But, no, thank you. I'm sorry to have interrupted.
No, you didn't interrupt. This is what I'm doing, Julie.
Didn't interrupt Brian at all, and I think that's awesome, and I totally agree with Mary. I've had people that have passed on, and I'm not going to say our relationship was the greatest, and it took them a long time to come through, and when they finally did, I wasn't sure whether I was ready to hear from them or not, but once the message was given, I was able to move on, and it was very freeing. And those are messages that I will never forget. And I'm glad they came through. So, think about all that.
Yeah, will do. Thank you very much anyway, Mary. You've been, it's been an enlightenment.
Ladies, you have my website a link to that?
Yes,
because
we
really,
put it in the chat room.
Oh, good. I have a, Brian, because I feel like this isn't done. You can contact me by email, all right? Because I feel like there's something else I want to talk with you about. But again, it's not for public airways. So,
right. And I will send Brian your email address.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
And that's you're very welcome. Sometimes it's a problem with being in this line is you don't know what you're touching. You don't know ahead of time. I can't tell you how many people I've made cry. I don't remember, I don't even know what I've said to them. But, a woman ran out of the room, came back sniffling, okay, I could continue. I'm thinking, what did I say? I'm sorry. And sometimes things come out that are just so deeply personal that I don't feel comfortable discussing them with other people around. So, but that's what comes up. I mean, that's where, when there is a message and when there is an angel present or when there is a loved one coming through, it's not like I'm screening these calls, they're coming through as they're coming through. And I just want to be, sensitive to that with whomever I'm working with.
Exactly. That's beautiful. A lot of integrity.
Thank you. Well, you have to, it's private. I was raised Catholic. So right there, you're talking about the whole privacy of the confessional thing, the sanctity of it. And it's a sacred work. It's not a parlor game. It can be, and it can be a lot of fun at parties, but a long time ago when I was getting my master's degree in pastoral ministry, I had a teacher of spirituality, and she said to us, you're practitioners of the sacred. And it made us all kind of sit up like, yeah, we're cool. But it's true. It's a serious undertaking. I'm asking for spiritual guidance for people. And they're asking me for help. And so that's a sacred bond, and that's a trust. I will never go from a reading and say, oh, you should have heard this reading. I first of all, I don't remember them. Second of all, it's wrong. You can say I had a reading when this happened, or it's like friends and her uncle with no hands. That's a story we tell often at the farm because it's just a kind of part of the lore of the farm now. But I would never, leave a reading and divulge what's happened because it's just not right. You've got to stay in the light to do this work. So,
I think we all do that to a certain extent, though, Mary, because, I'm more telepathic than most, and the things I pick up from people at times, believe me, I cannot spread them. I don't even tell Pauline, my wife, what's going on, because I find it's too personal, and it would be totally indiscreet of me to even mention anything like that. But
yeah, it put me, when I was teaching, put me in a very bad position to know a child was having a particular issue or kind of abuse, and I couldn't find any physical evidence or have the child hasn't disclosed anything. I just know, and I can't do anything with that knowledge until there's something reportable happening.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
it's the same with me when I would go into someone and the woman is being abused by her husband. Physically abused, and who can one tell? All I can do is to try and help her and say, look, I think this would be the best thing for you to do, and just leave it at that, because you can't go around telling people, what's going on in other people's heads. It's wrong. So one has to be very, very careful.
Yeah, especially when there are other third parties involved that might take exception.
That's it. All right,
anything else?
No, I'm fine, thanks.
Okay, good. I'm glad you called. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian. And I will send you that email address into your Facebook.
Thank you for doing that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Brian. Is there anybody else that would like to talk to Mary? Any questions?
Jennifer?
Well, Jennifer has had many readings from Mary. It's been quite a while through Robert's show, and like I said, if it wasn't for Mary and a lot of those guests, Jennifer wouldn't be sitting here doing what she's doing now. And let's see, Jackie, our friend Jackie. She would like to know, is there anything I need to do to prepare my family for the next few years? She can't pick up her mic because she's at church. Jackie. It's the youth
She's
group.
at church?
She's got the headphones on listening. Yeah, her daughter goes to she's not.
All right. I don't know if that's, yeah, that's the surest way to get God a little angry. Never mind. I'll take She's like, oh my, I never had this before. All right. Well,
she's waiting for her daughter.
Oh, okay. I thought she was like ignoring the session. Okay, good. I feel better. Like, wow. Jeez. What was the question? I'm sorry. What do I have?
She wants to know if there's anything she needs to do to prepare her family for the next few years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What you can do is you can model calmness for them. All those decorating thus for years, keep calm and do this, just keep calm and carry on. Keep calm. Keep calm. And share that calmness. Eliminate fear. Don't feed into it. Don't repeat things that are fearful. Don't share fearful stories. Don't send fearful emails. Do not send on fear-based stories you may get in your email or your posts. It is a very tenuous time we're entering, especially here in the States. And nobody's certain about anything. Not that you're ever certain about anything, but there's more fear involved. So I would say what you do is you keep your family close. You let them go when they need to go. You support them with your love, but you keep fear out of it. You read things. If someone sends you something, don't automatically send it on. Read it. How does it make you feel? If it makes you feel anything less than wonderful, delete it. Don't share it. Don't perpetuate the fear. Don't fall prey to it. Love is the strongest force we have on this earth and beyond it. Nothing is stronger than love. Things come from fear or they come from love. Strive to choose love. Strive to put the fear aside and don't become part of it. It's amazing. Last week I had some of my work for sale at an art festival, and people were kind of hanging around talking, and the next thing they were, trading stories of horrible things they've heard about racism and fearful things and different religions going on. And that's why I said, ladies, could you step away? Because you're sloshing your energy all over my stuff. And they're kind of like, hey. But I was like, no, really, move along. Because that energy, that fear, that was just hanging around like a cloud. And I didn't want that around my energetic healing toys. So I did. And when I left, I did a little sweep of the energy and removed into that dispelled cloud. The best thing you can do is be open-hearted and calm. Okay? Don't fall into the ready chatter. And even if you think you're not perpetuating the fear, it's enough to say, I was disturbed by some news I heard today, and I'd really like to work around that or work through or work for peace. But to say, oh, you won't believe what I heard today, it was awful. By decrying it was awful, then sharing it, you're spreading it. Hard. It's in the way people share information these days, how instantly things change, how immediately rumors can be passed on as news, conjecture is seen as news, and news is seen as entertainment. So be careful. Speak from your truth. Try to stay mindful. Keep your open heart open, and stay calm. That has come actually from channeled information I was privy to a couple of weeks ago in a circle I belong in, where various different channels will bring through their messages, and the consistent message we've been getting is stay calm. Stay calm. The outcome is assured.
She's saying, yes, that makes sense.
Oh, good. I did feel as though I was going on a bit with that, but I kind of felt it was not just me doing it. I think there's a lot of us, I'm especially horrified when I find myself, sharing a story and I'm realizing I'm using my fear. I'm letting it pervade my life as well. I don't realize it because I kind of have had such a very beautiful and rich, fulfilling life for the last few years especially. And it's not like me I'm not the gossip. In fact, I used to get in trouble at work a lot. Like after a meeting, I'm like, okay, I'm out of here now. And like, what's wrong? I'm like, it's not me to sit around after the meeting's over and gossip about the people who just left. I'm sorry, that's not how I'm wired. And I would resent anyone else, taking up space and time in my office to do that. So I'm like, okay, we're done, goodbye, And someone says, what's wrong with her? And someone else said, she doesn't like gossip. She went, like, oh, sorry to disappoint you. But even with that stance in my background, I still I want to tell someone. This is an awful thing I had. It was awful. It was just wrong. And that's, for me, not the good thing. I'm spreading the wildfire instead of trying to, tamp it down and control it. There have always been.
Yeah, Jackie is saying being a mixed family brings new challenges as the racial tensions are on the rise. Jackie and her husband adopted their daughter, Layla, and she's also very gifted. So, that brings on extra. But Jackie and Larry, were the right parents for this child. Right. And they have done wonderfully.
Absolutely. And, if things occur, I know a friend of mine's, fifth grade granddaughter had an incident occur at school, then, bring that to the attention of the right grown-ups. And then, the mom went to the office and the office said, oh no, this is unacceptable. And they, did what they do. They put their protocols in place and they handled the situation in a swift and appropriate manner. And, that this is zero tolerance. This will not be tolerated. And so without having to, give into the gossipy, detail of what happened. Oh my God, what happened? The fact is that people are feeling a little more easy now with some of their less charitable thoughts coming out of their mouths because they've given a precedent that these things are all acceptable, but they're not. They're still not acceptable. They may be there and they may be rising to the top, and maybe it's a sort of gift in that then we can find it and root it out and be done with it instead of letting things continue to fester. So I'm trying to view our current political situation in this country as a vast opportunity for the voice of reason, for the heart to speak, for the love to come forward in the force that it is, and to stay calm and united, and this too shall pass. There is a quote from Greek Epicurus that saved me so many times in my adolescence and even my years, and it is, no evil lasts forever, nor indeed for very long. Okay? Nice. Or in the words of my daughter, who was very wise, Mama, everything's okay in the end. If it's not okay, then it's not the end. You know? So,
Right.
you know, love will always triumph, always. And if something happens, you know, if you see something, say something. There are protocols in place. There are rules in place. There are laws in place that may not prevent something from happening, but they sure will keep it from going further and to make sure that the person responsible has some sort of consequence. You know, that is, you know, it's a struggle. Our country, our world is facing upheavals in so many different ways. You know, don't get caught up in the emotion of it. I've come to the conclusion the last couple of years that emotions were never meant to be hard and hardened onto our bodies and stick to us the way they do. Emotions are like the wind. They change and they blow around you, and they're not supposed to come in you and get stuck. So, you know, that's part of what most people are doing now. They're trying to release themselves from old rules, old relationships, old jobs, old habits, old things that no longer serve them. How many people are downsizing? How many people are getting rid of a lot of their physical possessions? They just don't want them anymore. They don't need them anymore. So we're letting go of a lot of things, and a lot of growing happens, and growth comes from pain. It's just, it's scary to us because it seems like we're never sure where it's going to come from. Yeah. We feel like people we've known all our lives are suddenly espousing beliefs that we never thought they had.
Exactly.
So they stay calm, you know. We have a chance to make better choices than other nations have made when faced with the same choices.
Exactly.
Amen.
Yeah, well, easy to say, hard to do, but, you know, it's practice. It's practice. It's just, I think sometimes though, I'd rather see where the snakes are than worry about them dropping out of trees at you, you know? At least they're making their presence known. Which is pretty pathetic. You know? Looking for that pony. All the manure, just looking for the pony. I was hysterical. I was watching PBS NewsHour the other night. It's exactly what someone said. I think it was Chris. I can't remember who it was. They were playing a tape of him, Chris Matthews, I think. And he said, well, keep looking for the pony. All this manure piled up. I'm like, my husband and I looked at each other because I've been saying that for decades now. Just keep looking for the pony. Just keep looking for the pony, you know? It's all this crap. It's coming from somewhere. Must be a pony. Keep looking for the pony.
Okay. I'm Canadian, so I'm Canadian, so I sit there and watch the political situation in the States, and I sit there and go, 2 frying pans, one over charcoal, one over propane. Which one's going to explode? Don't ask me who's who, but one of them's going to explode.
Yeah.
But as long as
either way,
either way, it's going to get mighty hot.
Oh, I know. But you know, we were told months ago in a channel message that at the end of the election, no one will be satisfied, and I can see that happening even now. And it's just, and I'm as an American, I'm appalled that there are more of us that are hateful than there are that are hopeful. It seems, and but at the same time, I'm true to the Constitution. I truly believe that it's gotten us this far. It'll get us the rest of the way we need to go. You know, like it or not, this is a democracy at work. This is the peaceful transition of power. This is how it works. You don't have to like it. Sometimes in some cases, you just cannot like it. There's no way you can like it. But we know that this will not last forever. This is how it works. I lived through the years of Reagan's silence about AIDS. That was deplorable and awful and unbelievable. And how could he, and how could he, and how could he? Well, he did. After 8 years of Reagan, well, you know, things got a little better.
Right.
There will always be people to disagree with, you know. I'm just dismayed that in any prior contest, it was a matter of picking the one with whom you were politically and philosophically aligned. It wasn't, you knew whoever became the president, they're going to be the president, and they're going to do their best by this country because that's what presidents do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I'm hopeful that our president-elect has had his eyes open to the complexities of this new job. He also seems to have come to a place where he sees our current president as a counsel, and I'm delighted the fact that our president will be staying in Washington for his children's education for the next 2 years at least, and that means he's got physical proximity to the situation, so should he be needed, he's a phone call away. So I find that very comforting. I told my daughter election night, she and I were Skyping, and she was very upset, and I said, listen, when you go to bed tonight, President Obama will be the president. When you wake up in the morning, President Obama will still be the president. Because we just trust him. You know, we trust him. My kids used to play a game. They'd say, it was a babysitter game. They'd start with, who would you leave us with? And they'd start like, you know, Cruella de Vil or the Wicked Stepmother. And I'd say, you know, and they'd give me these like the little torch, you know, the 5 and 7. Who would you leave us with? George Washington or you know, I don't know, they picked somebody dreadful. Or, you know, or that. Or they'd say something like, you know, Al Sharpton or Rasputin. I'm like, where do you get these names? You know, so every time there's an election, who would you leave us with? Mitt Romney or Mr. Obama? I'm like, well, Mitt Romney would probably tie the roof of his car, so probably Mr. Obama, you know. So in this case, who would you leave us with? I'm like Bernie Sanders. Like, he wasn't a choice. He's my choice. Yeah, so, and that's what it comes down to. Who would I trust with my children? You know, that's basically it. But I truly believe in the goodness of the American people. I believe in our generosity of spirit. I believe in our tenacity. And I believe in our amazing ability to overcome anything. I also believe that with the aid of instantaneous communication across great swaths of population, it can be harder for the government to pull stuff without a lot of us knowing right away and put up a fuss to make them knock it off. So I think that's a good thing. I've been spending a lot of time paying attention to George Takei lately and praying for him and his message and his calmness. No matter how upset he gets, he always seems to have that very nice Sulu calm, you know. So I trust that our politicians will maintain their cool. I trust that our people will not react but respond. I'm confident of the loving and unseen forces around us that always hope for the best and will be ready to respond if we ask. And that's where free will comes in. You know, the fire department will be happy to come and put out your fire, but you have to tell them about it. Say, please come. And the same thing with archangels and angels and spirits and the dear departed. They cannot interfere unless we ask them. So I think this might be for our country a great rekindling of faith in whatever entities one holds faith, to ask them for their help and to expect it and to be grateful for it and to use it.
Very true.
You know, this could be the greatest opportunity for inclusion and connection that we've ever had as a country.
Well, I'm sorry to have to cut to this, but it is now 8:30, and it's the end of the show. This was a very, very good show. If we would like to have you back, if you're willing to come back.
I was going to say thank you so much.
Yeah.
I've been,
Thank
sitting
you.
here with the cat. Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. Thank you, listeners.
And
Yes, we would like to have you back. Yeah, as soon as possible. I really enjoyed this,
All
and
right.
I do. I thank you so much, Mary. Sorry about all the technical difficulties.
I'll
And
have it
thank
fixed next
you,
time.
Dorothy Holder,
Thank
for
you,
helping
Missy
us
D.
out.
Thank you, Brian. As ever, you were quiet and peaceful. By the way, Mary, Brian is one of our co-hosts. I just told
Is
him.
he really?
Yes, he
Yes.
is.
You sneaky guy.
He's
Thank you for your time.
the quiet one.
Yeah, we have to mute him every so often. But
And
I
kick
will
him
get,
from the room.
William.
yeah, I will get that email address to you, Brian, right away. And thank you so much, Mary. And I'm looking forward to you coming back. I'll be sending you a message on through email.
Well,
Great.
thank you
so
all,
much.
everybody, for hanging tight. Thank you for stepping up and asking the questions that you did. Thank you, Mary. Awesome. Brian, Jennifer, another awesome show. I do believe next week's show, of course, I'm not ready with my book, but I think next week's show is the unrecordable show. So, let's just take a quick look. Where are we? We're December.
Yes.
Oh,
No.
look. Wait a minute. Yes.
Yes, we are.
No. We're not December. We're still November. Oh,
No,
good.
we're still November.
I want to get this month over and done with. I want this whole year to be over and done with. Okay, when are we? Next week is Vicky Johns.
Tricky Vicky.
Tricky Vicky. I hope you're ready for that one there, Brian, because she's going to be adorable.
She
All right, everybody.
always is.
Yes, she is. So
Thank
everybody,
you very
we'll
much,
see you
everyone.
next week with Vicky Johns. And stay tuned. Life is going to be nothing but one mega party.
Have a great week, everybody.
Night all.
Good night.
Thanks a lot, and thank you, Dorothy, for all your hard work.